He ordered thousands to die, but begged for his own life. Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. History is filled with tyrants who ruled with iron fists, sending thousands to their deaths without a second thought. Yet when their own time came, many of these same dictators, who showed no mercy to others, desperately begged for their own lives. Today, we explore the twisted psychology of those who dealt death freely, but couldn't face their own mortality. Throughout history, we've seen this pattern repeat itself again and again. Dictators rise to power, often through violence and manipulation. They eliminate opposition, crush dissent, and rule through fear. They order executions, approve massacres, and orchestrate genocides. Yet when cornered and facing their own demise, these same individuals often transform from ruthless killers into pathetic, pleading figures. Take Nicolae Ceausescu, the brutal dictator of Romania. For over 2 decades, he ruled with absolute authority. His secret police, the Securitate, terrorized the population. Thousands disappeared into prisons, were tortured, or simply vanished. Children were separated from their parents. Families were destroyed. Ceausescu lived in luxury while his people starved. But when the Romanian Revolution erupted in 1989, everything changed. The man who had ordered countless executions suddenly found himself on trial for genocide and crimes against humanity. As the charges were read, this once powerful dictator began to tremble. When the death sentence was announced, Ceausescu broke down completely. He pleaded for his life, crying that the trial was illegal, begging for mercy he had never shown others. His wife Elena, equally complicit in the regime's crimes, joined him in desperate pleas. The woman who had once boasted about eliminating enemies of the state now sobbed uncontrollably, begging the judges to spare their lives. Their execution was swift, lasting only minutes. The irony was stark. They received more mercy in their final moments than they had ever shown their victims. This pattern of behavior reveals something profound about the psychology of tyrants. When wielding power, they view themselves as gods among mortals. They believe they are above the laws that govern ordinary people. Death is something they dispense to others, never something that could touch them personally. This delusion of invincibility often stems from years of unchecked authority and constant flattery from subordinates too afraid to speak truth to power. Consider Saddam Hussein, who ruled Iraq through decades of war and oppression. He ordered the use of chemical weapons against his own people. The Kurdish massacre at Halabja saw thousands of civilians, including children, killed by poison gas. He invaded neighboring countries, started wars that cost millions of lives, and maintained power through systematic torture and execution of political opponents. Yet when American forces found him hiding in a spider hole in 2003, the once mighty dictator was a broken man. Gone was the swagger and bravado. Instead, they found a disheveled, terrified individual who surrendered without resistance. During his trial, Hussein alternated between defiance and desperate attempts to justify his actions. As his execution approached, reports emerged of his increasing anxiety and attempts to negotiate for his life. The psychology behind this transformation is fascinating. Dictators often suffer from extreme narcissism and delusions of grandeur. They surround themselves with yes men who reinforce their sense of superiority. Over time, they lose touch with their own mortality and humanity. They begin to believe their own propaganda about being indispensable leaders chosen by destiny or divine will. This psychological armor serves them well while in power, allowing them to make decisions that would paralyze a normal person with guilt. They compartmentalize their actions, viewing mass murder as necessary for the greater good of their vision. They dehumanize their victims, making it easier to order their deaths. But this same psychological framework collapses when they face their own mortality. Another striking example is Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. For over 4 decades, he ruled through fear and violence. He sponsored international terrorism, ordered the bombing of civilian aircraft, and brutally suppressed any opposition. His forces used live ammunition against peaceful protesters during the Arab Spring, killing hundreds. But when rebel forces finally cornered him in 2011, the man who had shown no mercy to countless victims was found hiding in a drainage pipe, begging for his life. Witnesses reported him pleading with his captors, asking what he had done wrong, claiming he loved his people. The transformation from ruthless dictator to cowering prisoner was complete within hours. This pattern suggests that deep down, even the most hardened dictators retain some connection to their human instincts for survival. When stripped of their power and protection, they revert to basic human behaviors: fear, desperation, and the will to live. The same survival instinct that may have driven them to commit atrocities to maintain power ultimately betrays them when they face justice. The irony is particularly bitter for their victims' families. Those who lost loved ones to these dictators' cruelty often witness their oppressors' final moments with mixed emotions. There may be satisfaction in seeing justice served, but also a hollow feeling that no amount of begging can bring back those who were murdered. What makes this phenomenon even more disturbing is how predictable it has become. History shows us time and again that tyrants who show no mercy will inevitably beg for the mercy they denied others. Yet new dictators continue to emerge, apparently believing they will be different, that they will escape the fate of their predecessors. This cycle reveals a fundamental truth about human nature and power. Those who seek absolute power often do so because they fear powerlessness above all else. Their cruelty stems not from strength, but from deep-seated weakness and terror of losing control. When that control is finally stripped away, what remains is not a fearless leader, but a frightened human being who suddenly understands what their victims felt. The legacy of these fallen dictators serves as a warning to future would-be tyrants. No amount of power can shield anyone from mortality forever. The same hands that sign death warrants may one day tremble as they beg for mercy. History has shown us repeatedly that those who live by the sword, or in this case, by ordering others to die, will ultimately face the same fate they so callously imposed on others. In the end, their desperate pleas echo in the silence left by their countless victims, a haunting reminder that power is temporary, but justice, though sometimes delayed, has a way of finding even the most protected tyrants.